Okay, so I wanted to talk about something that is fun to do when it comes to drums, especially if you do like an 8 bar riff on some drums. For one, play the drums out as much as you can. Obviously, is the best way to do it. But for those that aren't drummers like myself, um, it's nice to still have that randomization. Now, the obvious is you can hit humanization on it and it's going to nudge notes a little bit here and a little bit there. You can do this in Logic. You can, now in Koala, or which is another app I use probably the most, you don't have that necessary click button to do that. So you have to manually do it, move the parts. But if you do it, you'll find that you get more variety. Your song sounds a little bit more natural, and it gives it a little realism to it, I guess you might say, for lack of better words. So here's some hats. Here's a little shaker. Here's a little percussion part that I put together. And then below it, and this one, these are the same drums, but they use, here, let me turn them on so you can hear. This is Goran Grooves Handy Drums Retro Custom, by the way, in case you know. This is the newer version 2.0. And I use this Valhalla Vintage Verb. I have a drum loop marmalade. This is made by Cool Wave. He's I call him a sound designer because he has his stuff out there where you can buy it. And then I run it through the Roar drum kit to give it a little more distortion, but not make it like overly done. It's a preset actually called Drum Kit Enhancer. If you have this, so you can use other distortions like Fab Filter Saturn is on iOS, or if you don't have that, you could use different ones. Just find a distortion that you like that's not overly distorted, but gives you a little natural distortion. And then I use another Valhalla reverb called Drum Air. This is a preset that's built into the Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I put it on about 10%. Been using Drum Air for a hot minute now. On almost every song you've ever heard me do, I pretty much have that. If I don't use that on iOS, I'll use EOS 2, which is a nice reverb, and I'll put that on ambience, and I'll just put it at like maybe 9 or 10%. So it's the same thing. I just do it using different plugins, depending on where I'm at. All right. So one thing Koala has that I appreciate, and I never really use it, but I'm starting to learn to use it in Ableton because I didn't really use it here either, is the chance. So if you look down in the corner here, you'll see velocity and chance. Now I've shown the velocity where you can, if I take chance off, hold on, let me take chance off. You can deviate the velocity, right? By highlighting the notes and then just dragging this down to negative, it will drop the notes, or you can go positive if you want to play it louder, softer, etc. But with chance, one of the things that's cool is like here you'll see I want these hi-hats to play, certain hi-hats to play like at 50%. So if you look over here, the percentages here, I just highlight the ones I want and drag it down to about 50%. These are about 75% because I want them to play, but sometimes I want them to drop out. If here, you see I have a crash, I don't want this crash hitting every time it turns around 8 bars. So to keep it where it practically plays like every 16 bars, then I drop it 50%, right? Half the time. And you can adjust it however you choose. That's up to you. But you see, I don't have to make so many loops. I can now sequence this track and it'll kind of fall where I want it to be. I'm just putting the triggers where it needs to go out and in, versus going in and deleting the notes and having to do a whole bunch of extra editing. This is a form of editing, but it's just a little different way of doing it, right? I can leave everything pretty much intact. Don't have to make a bunch of different loops. Don't have to draw the corners out anymore. I could just leave it all together. Saves me a little bit of time. And so here's what it sounds like. So you saw how it skipped. This time it kind of touched this one for whatever reason, even though it's set to 50%. So if you really don't want them to hit on that, you could drop them like 49%. Yeah, 49%. Same thing with the here. If you find that the half sometimes will hit more than once, just drop it like 1% more, and then sometimes you'll let's see it skipped at that time. Let's see how it does down here. If you do 50, it's gonna pick and choose. I think 50% of the time it might hit, it might not. But 49, it keeps it for sure. I think closer, if I'm not mistaken. See what it does this time as it approaches here. See, it skipped it completely, including the. Now this time around, it should play it. Well, let's see what it does. Go. Yeah, so 49 is the target number, in my opinion. If you want it to go like every 16, so that way it doesn't you don't have to deal with it dropping out. Now another thing I like to do, I'm gonna get out of there, is I like to put my stuff on 16 bars, sometimes 32. And if you get not enough space, like in my screen, it kind of gets ridiculous after a little while. Drop the drums, consolidate them a little bit. And then I'll make me a 16 bar. Now, the reason why I like a 16 bar is because I like to do solos in my music. I don't do vocals or anything like that, but I like to do solos. And 16 is just enough to get a nice solo in. 32 is okay. I'm not going to do a 32 bar solo. It's just not going to happen. You'll get bored of it. And I think the ears, for some reason, don't appreciate it. Unless you're just really into solos, and I like them, but even me, I have to have some breaks from it. It needs to be a tasteful solo. I don't want just some powerhouse solo where it's just like belting out constant notes over and over and over, like holding a note and sustaining it and allowing some emotion to be in the track is huge. So I just wanted to show you this with the drums. So let's see if it plays here. Let's see if it plays this time around on this one. It's kind of cool. I noticed it just played two of the notes in here by using chants. I don't know what it's going to give me. It's a little unpredictable, but I kind of want unpredictable. I want it to vary it. So this time it just played like this note and this note, right? I'm saying notes, but I mean hits. It just played that hit and that hit. Sometimes it'll play all together and it sounds cool. You'll get, right? Okay, I'm going to stop that. So that's my point here, is that use this and this is if I'm not sure on Logic, and I say Logic because that's another one that people use a lot. Fruity Loops or FL, as I remember when I was a kid, but FL Studio probably has something in there too like that where you can do chants. And if you just get to the point where you just don't want it to hit for sure, then I would say remove it on certain parts. If you want to control it, let's say, you can control it by just saying, okay, I'm going to remove the part. I don't want it to be there, and just make yourself a duplicate. But if you kind of want to, like me, I personally want to be able to, use this chance options to get a varied version of this fill, then you could do that. Another thing you could do, I guess, in theory, is you could go into here, have one track where you just remove the crash, right? And then just sequence these together. Command J, join them together. That's Command J on the MacBook. I don't know what it is on PC. I haven't used a PC before for doing music, or not recently, or not in Ableton, I should say. Yeah, so that's an option. You could do that, and then you know that the crash is not going to happen whenever you don't want it to happen. It seems like, see that right there, it didn't do it. So you got to know that you don't want it to do you don't want it to do versus what you do want it to do. If you don't know that, when using chance, it probably is not going to work for you. But if you know for sure, like, hey, I want it to for sure hit on this one, right? Just put your chance back at 100, because it's guaranteed it's going to hit. This one, I could leave it here at 50 because I want it to hit sometimes, and sometimes it don't. I don't mind if it doesn't hit, right? I'm not going to... See how it didn't hit? That's fine. Maybe you just want... I'm going to actually do this here. Command J, put them together. So maybe this time you want it to hit. This time you sort of want it to hit. Maybe not. You're not sure. And then on the crash, in this case, I actually wanted to hit on 100. I wanted to hit on that first one. But I went down to this little hat here, and I set it at, I'm going to set it at 50%. 50%. Because I kind of want it to hit, but if it doesn't hit, I'm okay on that. Because I'm going to now put the crash there on that one. So I could, in theory, I could remove this hat like that and just say, that's fine. I don't need it because same thing with, well, the shakers, I'm fine with the shakers going there. So I did the shakers, you see here are at like 50. I think this one's at 50 and this one's at like 74. So it's going to happen more often than not, but occasionally it's nice if they drop out. Same principle down here. I got these set with this little section, and if they hit, I'm not tripping on it, right? I'm allowing it to be what it is. But it's better than it being so repetitive to where it's like, man, you're sick of hearing it for this long, right? And if I ever need to just drop something out, just cut it, and then I can cut the space in it and just leave it there if I purposefully need to drop it out. But it's kind of nice because it's a little less editing. And I mean, it is editing because you still got to go into the MIDI and do something. But I don't want to have to change it all the time. I kind of just want to let it play and be as natural as possible. Hopefully that makes sense, what I'm saying. That's it for this video. Just wanted to show you that, how I'm using these drums. And I'll do another video shortly or at some point. I did it previously showing you guys cataracts and different glitch machine stuff. But you can use some cool glitch machine things to create perks like you hear in this track. Here, I'll just give you a glimpse of that. So I'm using glitch cataracts, but I'm also using this plugin. It's made by Aberrant DSP and it's called Digitalis. So I got cataracts running through Digitalis. Digitalis can do some interesting glitchy type stuff too, and has a sequencer which is unique and can make some random stuff but still be in sync. That makes sense. Take a look at it. It's a lot to this little plugin, but it's really cool. And there's presets, and you can find people that make presets for it too. You can make your own presets if you want. So that's the texture that you hear in the background. You don't need texture, but texture makes songs better to me. It's what gives the song some distinct character versus just playing some chords, putting some drums, and a bass line over it. And then you guys see I'm using Myth. I love Myth. This is one of the ones that is a keeper for me. It's probably my favorite one from Dawson. And I think I did a video on it just recently. So if you haven't seen that, check that video out. But it definitely is. It really is my favorite one because it's the first time I ever felt like I could actually sound design something and make my own sounds. And I enjoy it. I enjoy working with it. It's just a fun plugin. So anyway, that's it for this video. This is more focused on the drums, but figure I'd show you guys just me in the process of working on a song. This one is more loop bass in the sense of this, but when I do a solo, I definitely am not thinking about loops. I'm thinking of just free form of just playing music and allowing myself to be expressive to the best of my ability. And I think you should do that because that's the way music comes out best, when it's just naturally played and not so overly thought out. Anyway, I'm out.